And as you rightly pointed
I
out,
also want to cut across to Gaurav Bhatia. He's a lawyer and also a leader of the BJP. Mr. Bhatia, thank you so much for speaking to us. I ask this question to you as a person who's involved in the judicial process of the country, as a responsible member of the bar. How do you see the statements from Mr. Kapil Sibal?
Very proudly, as a foot soldier of the Honorable Supreme Court and having served as the Secretary of the Supreme Court Bar Association, I can tell you that every citizen has faith in the judiciary of the country. And such a statement coming from, leave aside the fact that he belongs to a political party, but from a senior advocate, casting aspersions on the judiciary doesn't augur well for the opposition. And I must also say that even during the COVID pandemic, I have myself witnessed, like any other lawyer, how the judges were working day and night to ensure that justice reaches even the poorest of the poor. They have taken decisions. You might disagree with them,
Sure.
but casting aspersions on the judiciary is unacceptable. And if I may add that this is the line that Rahul Gandhi also took a few days back when he said that all the institutions have been destroyed, whereas our democracy is the one that the world looks up to and is the strongest.
Mr. Bhatia, I'm just going to once again reiterate that I ask this question to you as somebody who knows the Constitution of India, who's a student of the Constitution of India. That Supreme Court itself on many occasions has said that dissent, criticism is a welcome aspect of democracy. And of course, our journalists, commentators, political parties often indulge in the critique of the Supreme Court. Where does one draw the line?
No, absolutely. As a student of law and, I've learned at the bar, criticism is all fine. You can criticize a judgment also. Nobody draws contempt because you criticize a Supreme Court or a High Court judgment.
That's right.
But when you start casting aspersions on the functioning of the judiciary, when you overlook the fact that there is a Supreme Court judgment that gives authority to the Honorable CJI to be the master of the roster, and you say that cases are being assigned for ulterior motive, and that too without an iota of evidence, that is unacceptable.
Mr. Bhatia, before I let you go, my last question to you. The entire master of the roster system, the manner in which cases are allotted, this has been a discussion in the corridors of the Supreme Court ever since 2018. Do you think there is a need for more transparency and perhaps a more constructive discussion in a better tone and tenor?
Absolutely. Why not? I think key to any democracy is the power to deliberate, discuss, even dissent.
Yeah.
But as I said earlier, you can't cast aspersions on the judiciary. And I must say, as a representative of the Bar Association also, that bar associations do sometimes differ with whatever the judiciary feels.
Exactly, yes.
And that acts as a check and balance. But we do not cast aspersions on the honorable judges of the Supreme Court or the High Court or the lower judiciary.
Or a blanket aspersion without really, substance. Thank you, Mr. Gaurav Bhatia, for joining us. And I think that's a wonderful point that Gaurav Bhatia made, that on various occasions, bench has checks and balances by the bar, and bar is said to be the mother of the bench, and that's a constructive relationship that they enjoy. Somnath Bharti from the Aam Aadmi Party is also joining us on the broadcast. Somnath ji, thank you so much for speaking to us. Your thoughts on what Mr. Kapil Sibal has said?
See, it's very unfortunate what he has said, but today's situation in the country and hopelessness across. I mean, the government has created situations across the nation. Things are not moving out. The country is in deepest slumber. It is ruined. Fundamental rights are just, getting violated at every possible situation. And so, I don't know what was his mindset when he said so. But we have nowhere else to go than the Supreme Court ultimately.
So we just had Mr. Gaurav Bhatia, and I'm not really quoting him as a BJP person.
Gaurav Bhatia, he is a member of BJP, so he will have.
No. Please listen to the argument. Please listen to the argument. The argument is that constructive criticism always has to be welcome, and I think you have a background in law, so you would appreciate that bar has often been very critical of the bench. There's nothing new about it, but the tone and tenor, blanket aspersions without really any substance. Is that something acceptable?
No, it's not acceptable at all. But then, see, what has happened that when you look at a situation where things have been negative all around, then I don't really know that what was the context when Mr. Sibal gave a statement like that.
He was speaking
But
about
then I
Zakia
do not-
Jafri
I-
and
as a member of
PMLA,
the-
those judgments.
As a
he was
member of the
talking
bar,
about. Yeah.
I would not indulge in any such criticism of the Supreme Court or any other court.
All right, Mr. Somnath
But
Bharti.
then, as a politician, when I look at it, then it would be a different take because of the government situation.
So your
I
take
would
as a
not,
politician and a
still would
lawyer
not-
is completely different, Mr. Somnath Bharti?
I still would not cast aspersions on the Supreme Court or any other court because that is the only place, in fact, left over today in the country where you go for some relief to get.
Yes, and justice,
So,
and justice.
but unfortunate that Mr. Modi has brought situations in the country like that people have become hopelessness even vis-a-vis
Well, I think that's the
That's
politician in you speaking right now. But thank you, Mr. Somnath Bharti, for joining us on the broadcast and sharing the views with us. My colleague Ananya Bhatnagar continues to remain with us on the show. Ananya, any word that has come in from the Supreme Court Bar Association?
Yes, so far no word has come in from the Supreme Court Bar Association, but we might expect a statement coming in, though there is a statement that has come in from the All India Bar Association, that is the AIBA, headed by Mr. Adhish Agarwal, who has clearly condemned the statements that have been made by Mr. Sibal and said that these are contempt statements and contempts shall be issued against him. We might also see that somebody can approach Mr. K.K. Venugopal, who is the Attorney General of India, seeking his consent to initiate a contempt proceeding against Mr. Sibal. So, but these are just assumptions, and we shall not go by them. But what is very, very clear is that his statements are in fact being criticized by the judiciary, by the people in the judicial circle, whether these are lawyers, whether these are people who are connected to the bar or the bench. But we'll have to wait, Anusha, for what more comes in officially from the SCBA or any other bar association, whether it's the DHCBA or the SCBA. We'll have to wait and watch for that. But then these are the statements that have been made. He was speaking at an event in the national capital, which was held against the PMLA judgment and also the judgment in the Zakia Jafri case, wherein a clean sheet was given to the then Gujarat CM, Mr. Narendra Modi, who's currently the Prime Minister of the country. And clearly, Mr. Sibal saying that he has no faith left in the Supreme Court and a system where the CJI is the master of the roster and he decides as to who will hear which case. Anusha.
And Ananya, as most of the people across party lines, whether it was Mr. Somnath Bharti, it was Gaurav, Bhatia, Ujjwal Nikam, everybody who spoke to us, anybody would vouch for the fact that there is a very vibrant culture of dissent and disagreement between the bar and bench. And this is, we're talking about the Supreme Court of India. The Supreme Court of India is known to have the best of the minds, whether it's the judges or it's the lawyers. How will this statement really be perceived by the Supreme Court Bar Association? Will there be any application for any contempt proceedings to be taken up, because that needs to be approved by the Attorney General of India? All of that is a wait and watch, and as my colleague said, a speculation at this point in time. But clearly, this statement from Mr. Kapil Sibal has sent ripples in the judicial circles. Some more breaking news coming in.